At first, everything seems normal. The boarding continues as usual, families juggling strollers, business travelers balancing laptops and coffee cups, tourists whispering in excitement about their destinations. Yet, slowly, almost like a ripple spreading across still water, something begins to shift in the cabin. It starts quietly. A single glance. A sideways look from a passenger 2 rows back. Then another. A whisper barely louder than a breath. Nothing direct, nothing said to his face, but it spreads quickly, almost contagiously. The man in seat 2A can feel it before he even sees it. It is a sensation he knows too well, the subtle prickle at the back of the neck, the awareness that eyes are watching, that unspoken words hang in the air like a weight. He lifts his gaze from the window, just casually, and that's when he notices it. A middle-aged woman in pearl earrings leans toward her seatmate, her lips moving in a hushed comment, followed by a quick smirk. Her companion nods, glancing briefly in his direction before lowering her eyes again. Across the aisle, a businessman in a navy suit doesn't bother with subtlety. He looks directly at the man in first class, tilts his head slightly, and then lets out a low chuckle as he mutters something under his breath. The passenger beside him frowns uncomfortably, but says nothing. The whispers spread further back, like fire catching dry grass. One teenager elbows his friend and points discreetly toward the front, as though spotting something unusual. A man seated near the galley lowers his newspaper just enough to study him, his eyes scanning slowly from head to toe, before folding the paper again with exaggerated care. The sound of the cabin is no longer ordinary. Yes, there is still the rustling of bags and the polite greetings of the flight attendants, but beneath it is another layer, the quiet hum of judgment, of disbelief, of suspicion that has no words yet, but is heavy enough to be felt. The man shifts in his seat, not nervously, but thoughtfully. He has lived long enough, traveled far enough, to recognize this atmosphere. He knows it is not about his seatbelt, not about his luggage, not about anything tangible. It is about perception. About the image that others cannot reconcile, a black man, sitting in first class. For some, that sight alone feels like a contradiction. A woman walking past to her seat in economy slows down just enough to glance at his boarding pass resting in his lap. Her eyes flicker, almost disappointed, when she sees that yes, it's real. He is not in the wrong row. He is not pretending. She moves on, but her expression lingers in his memory, a silent accusation without a single word spoken. The whispers grow bolder now. A man leans forward, speaking just loud enough for nearby passengers to hear, "There's no way. Must be a mistake." Another replies with a shrug, "Or he upgraded last minute. Doesn't look like the type though." The words sting, not because they are new, he has heard variations of them before, but because they are spoken so casually, as if his worthiness of comfort could be debated like weather. Phones begin to appear, subtle at first. A young woman seated diagonally takes out her phone, pretending to scroll, but her camera is angled just enough to capture him. A man across the aisle lifts his phone outright, recording with the excuse of checking something on screen. The glow of the devices reflects in their eyes, eager to catch something, anything, that justifies their suspicion. And through it all, the man remains composed. He adjusts his jacket, sits straighter, and meets a few of the stares with calm, unwavering eyes. He does not shrink. He does not slouch. He refuses to give them the satisfaction of doubt written on his face. But inside, a quiet storm brews. Not anger, not yet. More like disappointment. How many times must dignity be proven? How many times must peace be defended? To sit in a seat he rightfully earned, to enjoy a moment of rest, and still be treated as if he were trespassing. The whispers are no longer whispers. They are murmurs, murmurs strong enough that even the flight attendants notice. One attendant raises her brows at another, exchanging a quick, uneasy glance. They don't intervene, not yet. But the tension is undeniable now, stretching through the cabin like a taut wire ready to snap. And then, without warning, the sound of heavy footsteps interrupts the noise. Strong, deliberate, unmistakable. The low thud of uniformed boots on the narrow aisle floor. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Conversations cut short. Passengers sit straighter. Some faces brighten with vindication, as if expecting confirmation of their suspicions. Others turn grim, sensing what is about to unfold. The man in 2A doesn't need to look up. He already knows. He can feel the presence drawing nearer, the shadow falling across his row. The whispers stop entirely now, replaced by the collective silence of dozens of eyes waiting, watching, hungry for what comes next. 2 police officers step into the first-class section. Their uniforms stark against the soft beige of the cabin, their authority filling the space with unspoken command. They walk with purpose, not scanning the rows, not searching, no. They already know exactly where they're headed. Directly to him. The 2 officers stop at his row, their presence looming, blocking the narrow aisle like a wall of authority. One is tall, with a sharp jawline and a clipped tone, the other, stockier, with a hand resting near his belt as if to remind everyone who holds the power here. The cabin, once filled with whispers and judgment, now falls into absolute silence. Even the rustling of bags and the chatter from economy has died down. All eyes are fixed on row 2A. "Sir," the taller officer begins, his voice deliberately loud, carrying through the cabin like a public announcement, "We need you to come with us. This seat isn't for you." The words hang in the air, heavy and humiliating. The man looks up, blinking once, almost in disbelief. He hears the command, but he processes it slowly, not because he doesn't understand, but because part of him cannot believe this scene is unfolding. He shifts slightly in his seat, glances at his boarding pass resting neatly in his lap, and then back at the officers. "Excuse me?" His voice is calm, measured. "I'm in the right seat. This is first class. This is my ticket." A ripple of murmurs spreads through the cabin. Some passengers smirk, pulling out their phones even quicker now, eager to capture what they believe is about to be an embarrassing moment. Screens glow, tiny red recording lights blink. A few passengers look uneasy, their brows furrowed, but they remain silent. No one dares to interfere. The stockier officer steps forward, his tone clipped, authoritative. "We need to verify that. Please stand up and come with us." The man doesn't move. He sits straighter instead, his hand tightening around the boarding pass as though it were the only thing tethering him to dignity. He meets their gaze evenly, his voice firm but never raised. "I already verified it at the gate. I was directed here by your own staff. My ticket says seat 2A, first class. That is where I am sitting. I will not be moving because someone else doesn't believe I belong." The officer's jaw tightens. His hand hovers closer to his belt. The cabin seems to shrink with tension. Passengers lean in, phones held higher, trying to capture every angle of this confrontation. Some are smiling, almost entertained, while others exchange uncomfortable glances, clearly realizing the gravity of what's happening. From behind, a passenger whispers just loud enough to be heard, "Told you he didn't belong here." Another voice mutters, "Let's see how long this lasts." The man hears them, but he doesn't flinch. Years of discipline have taught him to remain composed, even in the face of blatant injustice. The taller officer repeats himself, sharper this time. "Sir, I'm asking you again. Stand up. We can do this the easy way, or the hard way." The man slowly exhales, his chest rising and falling with controlled breath. His eyes sweep across the cabin, faces staring, judging, recording. The humiliation is suffocating, not because he's done anything wrong, but because his right to simply exist in that seat is being questioned so publicly. Yet, instead of snapping, instead of shouting, he steadies himself. He raises the boarding pass in his hand, holding it up so the nearest passengers, and the officers, can see it clearly. "Here. This is my proof. My name is on it. My seat is on it. Look for yourself. The taller officer snatches it quickly, his expression unreadable. He glances at the paper, then back at the man, but doesn't return it. Instead, he exchanges a look with his partner, as though silently debating the next move. The atmosphere grows heavier with every passing second. Some passengers murmur again. Maybe it's fake. Or stolen. They'll find out. The words sting, each one like a small cut, but the man keeps his head high. A flight attendant edges closer, her face tight with concern. She whispers something to the officer, gesturing toward the gate where the ticket had already been checked. But the officer waves her off, dismissing her quietly, his attention fixed firmly on the man. The cameras keep rolling. The tension keeps mounting. Every second feels like a minute. And still, the man refuses to stand. His composure is not just defiance, it is dignity. He knows that if he rises under their demand, it will not be seen as cooperation. It will be seen as confirmation of their suspicions. And that, he cannot allow. The officer leans in closer now, lowering his voice but keeping it sharp. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just step out, and we'll sort it out outside the plane. The man's reply is steady, resolute, but filled with quiet power. No. I will not leave my seat for your convenience, or for someone else's prejudice. If you want to sort it out, you can do it right here. In front of everyone watching. Because I have nothing to hide. And indeed, everyone is watching. Phones capture his calm defiance, the officer's growing impatience, the thick silence of a cabin filled with judgment. In that moment, the confrontation is no longer just about a seat. It is about dignity, belonging, and the refusal to bow to injustice. The tension inside the cabin is unbearable. The man sits tall, refusing to move, while the officers loom over him, boarding pass still in their possession. The passengers are caught in a strange mixture of curiosity and discomfort, their phones raised like shields, their faces reflecting both eagerness for drama and unease at what they are witnessing. The taller officer sighs impatiently, shaking his head. Sir, you're making this more difficult than it needs to be. If you have nothing to hide, prove it. Show us proper identification. The words hang in the air, sharp and humiliating. Around him, the whispers grow bolder now that the confrontation has escalated. See? He can't prove it. Bet the ticket's not even his. Just wait, this is about to get interesting. Each remark feels like a stone thrown, but the man does not flinch. Instead, he reaches calmly into his jacket pocket. The movement is slow, deliberate, watched carefully by the officers, and eagerly by the dozens of phones recording every second. He doesn't rush, he knows that in moments like this, haste can be misinterpreted, twisted, or even used against him. His fingers close around the smooth, worn leather of his wallet. For a second, he pauses, closing his eyes briefly as if centering himself, gathering strength from within. Then, with the same calm precision that has carried him through countless challenges, he pulls it out and flips it open. Inside lies his identification card, resting neatly in its slot. He lifts it between two fingers and holds it out for the officers to see. The taller one takes it quickly, his expression firm, perhaps even expecting to catch him in a lie. He lowers his gaze to the card, scanning the name, the photo, the details. And in that instant, everything changes. The officer's eyes widen ever so slightly, the kind of reaction he tries to mask but cannot completely hide. His posture stiffens. His lips part as if he's about to say something, but the words don't come. Instead, he passes the card to his partner with a subtle urgency, as though needing confirmation for what he's just seen. The stockier officer reads the ID carefully. His brow furrows, then lifts. His jaw tightens, and suddenly the confidence in his stance falters. Both men exchange a look, one that says more than words ever could, "We've made a mistake." The silence in the cabin deepens. Passengers crane their necks, trying to catch a glimpse of what's on that card. Those holding phones zoom in, desperate to see. The whispers stop completely now, swallowed by a heavy, collective anticipation. The ID is handed back slowly, almost reluctantly, as if it carries the weight of a revelation they are not ready to admit. The taller officer clears his throat, his voice no longer commanding but strained. Sir, everything checks out. You're clear to remain in your seat. Sorry for the inconvenience. The words are thin, fragile compared to the thunder of authority with which they first arrived. But the man does not snatch the ID back, nor does he gloat. Instead, he accepts it calmly, slides it back into his wallet, and rests it on his lap. Then, he raises his eyes, meeting the gaze of the officers first, and then sweeping across the cabin. His expression is steady, resolute, but there is no mistaking the depth of his disappointment. Because the truth is this, he wasn't just any passenger. His ID revealed him to be Dr. Marcus Williams, one of the nation's most respected surgeons. A man who had just returned from volunteering weeks of his life overseas, performing complex operations on children who had no access to medical care. A man who had sacrificed comfort, sleep, and safety to bring healing to others. And yet, here he was, treated like a criminal for simply sitting in the seat he had rightfully paid for. The revelation hits the passengers like a wave. The smirks vanish. The murmurs dry up. The woman in pearl earrings stares down at her lap, her face flushed with shame. The businessman who chuckled earlier shifts uncomfortably in his chair, suddenly very interested in the in-flight magazine. Even the ones recording hesitate, their cameras trembling slightly as the gravity of the moment sinks in. Dr. Williams finally speaks, his voice calm but carrying enough strength to reach the farthest rows. You see me sitting here, and you assume I don't belong. Not because of my ticket. Not because of my seat. But because of who I am. Let this be a reminder to every single one of you, appearances deceive. But respect? Respect should never be questioned. The cabin is still. His words hang heavy, cutting through the silence more powerfully than any argument could. The officers mutter another apology, their eyes downcast, before retreating quickly down the aisle, eager to escape the spotlight. The man leans back in his seat, not triumphant, not angry, but resolute. He knows this moment will live on in the memory of everyone who witnessed it, perhaps even in the recordings already circling online. And for once, the silence in the cabin is not filled with judgment, but with shame. The cabin remains still, as if the very air has frozen in place. The two officers retreat quickly down the aisle, their once heavy footsteps now hurried, eager to disappear from view. No one applauds, no one cheers. Instead, there is only silence, the kind of silence that speaks louder than noise ever could. Every passenger feels it. Shame lingers in the air, clinging to the walls of the aircraft, pressing into the hearts of those who moments ago whispered, doubted, and judged. Dr. Marcus Williams sits quietly, his ID now safely back in his wallet, his eyes steady as he gazes out the window. He does not smirk. He does not gloat. There is no triumph in his expression, only the quiet strength of a man who has endured far too many moments like this before. For him, this incident is not new. It is not shocking. It is simply another reminder of a truth he has lived with all his life, that dignity must often be defended, even in the simplest of spaces. A flight attendant approaches timidly, her voice softer than it had been earlier. Dr. Williams, would you like a drink? Perhaps some water, or tea? Her tone carries not just politeness, but apology, a subtle attempt to restore what should never have been broken. He offers her a gentle smile, nodding once. Water will be fine. Thank you. His words are kind, but there is a weight behind them, a quiet reminder that courtesy offered after disrespect is not the same as courtesy given freely. As the attendant walks away, the passengers shift uncomfortably in their seats. The woman in pearls leans back, avoiding eye contact. The businessman who smirked earlier now stares at his hands, drumming his fingers nervously on the armrest. Even those who recorded the confrontation seem hesitant, unsure whether to keep their videos or delete them, knowing full well that what they captured was not a scandal but a lesson that revealed their own silence in the face of injustice. Dr. Williams takes the glass of water when it arrives, holding it with both hands, and takes a slow sip. The cool liquid soothes his throat, but it does not wash away the sting of what has happened. He breathes deeply, steadying himself, reminding his heart of the same truth he has carried through surgeries, through late nights, through battles both personal and professional: you are more than what they see. And your worth is not theirs to decide. The engines hum louder now, signaling that takeoff is near. Passengers buckle themselves in, some casting guilty glances his way. But he doesn't look back. Instead, his mind drifts, to the children whose lives he saved overseas, to the families who clung to him in gratitude, to the lives forever changed by his skill and compassion. They had not cared about his skin color, his seat, or his appearance. They cared only that he had shown up for them, that he had brought hope where there had been none. And perhaps that is the greatest irony of all. A man who had been trusted to hold the lives of children in his hands was not trusted to sit in a seat he had paid for. The plane begins to move, rolling down the runway. As it lifts into the sky, the cabin remains quieter than usual. The weight of what happened lingers, unspoken yet undeniable. Every passenger knows they have witnessed something larger than a boarding dispute. They have seen prejudice unveiled in its rawest form, and they have seen dignity rise to meet it, unbroken. Dr. Williams closes his eyes for a moment, resting his head back against the seat. Not because he is tired, though he is. Not because he is defeated, though the moment was heavy. But because he chooses peace over anger. He chooses to rest in the truth that no amount of doubt can diminish who he is or what he has accomplished. And as the clouds drift past the window, as the world below shrinks into a patchwork of green and gray, one truth settles firmly in the minds of everyone on that plane. Respect is not earned by wealth. Not by titles. Not by seats. Respect is a right that belongs to every human being. To question it, to strip it away based on appearance, is not just prejudice. It is a failure of humanity itself. For some, this flight will be forgotten in a week. For others, it will linger for months. But for a few, it will live forever as the moment they learn that dignity cannot be taken, only denied, and only by those unwilling to see the truth. Dr. Williams opens his eyes, takes another sip of water, and gazes out at the horizon. Somewhere beneath those clouds are people still waiting for him, lives he has yet to touch, hearts he has yet to heal. And no amount of whispers, no judgment, no confrontation will ever keep him from that purpose. Because respect can be withheld. Seats can be doubted. But destiny? Destiny cannot be denied.